Some train rides feel endless. Some never let you off. I was supposed to be in Ohio by morning. A simple overnight train ride. Nothing unusual. Nothing special. Just a way to get from point A to point B. That was the plan. But plans have a funny way of falling apart when you least expect it. Looking back, I should have known something was wrong the moment I stepped onto that train. The train itself looked much older than I had expected. The seats, once cushioned and inviting, were worn down to the point of discomfort. Overhead lights buzzed faintly, flickering every so often, casting strange shadows that seemed to stretch and shrink. The windows were streaked with smudges. Not random dirt or raindrops, but distinct handprints. And they weren't from the inside. They were pressed against the glass from the outside. I shook off the uneasy feeling creeping up my spine. I was exhausted. My car had broken down hours earlier, leaving me stranded in the middle of nowhere. My flight? Cancelled. Thanks to an unexpected storm rolling through. This train was my only option. Creepy or not. I didn't care about eerie passengers or unsettling handprints. I just needed to get to Ohio. As I settled into my seat, the conductor appeared beside me. An older man. His uniform crisp and pressed. But something about him made me uneasy. His skin was pale, almost grayish under the dim lighting. His eyes were sunken, heavy with exhaustion. Like he hadn't slept in years. Maybe decades. Without a word, he reached into his pocket and handed me a folded piece of paper. His voice was barely above a whisper. Follow the rules. No matter what. I blinked. Caught off guard. What? But he was already walking away, disappearing down the aisle before I could press him for an explanation. Frowning, I unfolded the paper. The message was printed in bold, stark letters. Rules for your safety. Rule number 1. Do not acknowledge anyone who knocks on your compartment door after 12:45 a.m. If you answer, they will sit with you for the rest of the ride. Rule number 2. If you hear crying from another seat, do not look in that direction. They are not crying for help. Rule number 3. If the train stops at a station that is not listed on your itinerary, remain in your seat. Do not attempt to exit. The doors will open, and they will try to convince you otherwise. Ignore them. Rule number 4. If the lights flicker, close your eyes immediately. Do not open them, no matter what you hear or feel. They can only see you if you see them. Rule number 5. If you wake up and find yourself alone on the train, remain seated. Do not explore. The conductor will find you. Rule number 6. If you feel a breath on the back of your neck, do not react. Hold your breath and remain completely still. It will lose interest. Rule number 7. If someone in the reflection smiles at you, even though you did not smile, look away immediately. Do not let them see you blink. I let out a short, nervous laugh. This had to be a joke. Right? Some kind of elaborate prank for new passengers? Maybe a weird, horror-themed travel experience. Like those haunted house attractions that pop up around Halloween. I glanced around, expecting to see someone else holding the same paper. But no one was. The other passengers hadn't moved at all, still staring blankly out the windows. None of them had reacted to the conductor, to the paper, to anything. Swallowing the uneasy lump in my throat, I stuffed the paper into my pocket and leaned back against my seat. Maybe I was just overthinking. The steady rhythm of the train, the soft hum of the wheels against the tracks, it was comforting in a way. My body was beyond exhausted, my eyelids heavy. Just a little rest. That's all I needed. Suddenly, knock knock. Knock knock. A sharp, rhythmic tapping echoed from the door beside my seat. I froze. At first, it was soft. A faint tap 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 against the door beside my seat. Barely loud enough to notice. I ignored it. Probably just the conductor checking tickets again. Maybe I had dozed off, and he was making his rounds. That made sense. Right? Then it came again. Slow. Deliberate. Too precise to be random. I jolted awake, my heart pounding against my ribs. The train was dark now, the once flickering lights barely clinging to life, casting long, uneasy shadows along the aisle. I squinted, disoriented. How long had I been asleep? I reached for my phone, my fingers shaky as I tapped the screen. The glow from the display was harsh in the dim carriage. 12:46 a.m. My stomach dropped. Rule number 1. Do not acknowledge anyone who knocks after 12:45 a.m. A chill ran through me. Maybe someone had the wrong seat. A confused passenger. Some half-asleep traveler looking for their compartment. That was logical. That was rational. But then I noticed something. The knocking wasn't moving down the aisle. It was staying right here. At my seat. The same pattern, the same precise rhythm. I gripped the armrest, my fingers digging into the worn fabric. My breathing grew shallow. My body tensed as if bracing for impact. Then, the handle of the door rattled. A sharp, metallic clatter. Not a slight movement. Not a nudge. Someone, or something, was trying to open it. My pulse roared in my ears. I held my breath, every muscle locking in place. I squeezed my eyes shut and willed myself not to move. The knocking continued, steady and patient, like whoever was on the other side had all the time in the world. And then, suddenly, silence. I didn't move. Didn't breathe. I counted the seconds in my head, waiting for another sound, another knock, another rattle of the handle. Nothing. After what felt like an eternity, I exhaled shakily. My entire body ached from how tense I had been. That was stupid. I felt ridiculous for letting myself get so worked up over nothing. I shifted slightly in my seat, rubbing my temples, trying to shake off the fear. Just to be sure, I turned my head. Only a little, just enough to glance around. And that's when my stomach twisted into knots. There was no one else in my section of the train. The other passengers. The ones who had been sitting there, staring out the windows. They were gone. No shuffled bags. No half-finished drinks. No signs of movement. Just empty, silent seats, as if they had never been there at all. I swallowed hard, trying to rationalize it. Maybe they had moved to another car. Maybe they wanted more space. Maybe I had slept through an announcement, and they had all left for some reason. But deep in my gut, I knew better. With trembling fingers, I reached into my pocket and pulled out the rules again. The paper was crumpled now, my grip unsteady as I unfolded it. I read all the rules again, my mind racing. Suddenly, I heard crying. It was soft at first. Barely there. A quiet, muffled sobbing, blending into the steady hum of the train. A woman, sobbing quietly. It came from somewhere behind me, but I refused to turn around. I clenched my jaw, forcing myself to stare straight ahead. My fingers curled around the rules, gripping them so tightly the paper crinkled. Rule number 2. If you hear crying from another seat, do not look in that direction. They are not crying for help. The sobs grew louder. Shaky, broken gasps. Like someone mourning something they could never get back. My hands trembled against the seat. Don't look. Don't look. Don't look. Every instinct in my body screamed at me to turn around. To check if she was okay. To see if someone needed help. But I didn't. And then, the crying stopped. Silence swallowed the train. A thick, unnatural stillness. My own breath sounded too loud. My pulse pounding in my throat. For a moment, nothing happened. Then, I felt a shift in the air. The faintest brush of damp, warm breath against the back of my neck. My entire body locked up. It was coming from right behind me. The slow, raspy inhale. Then an exhale. Someone was standing just inches away. Rule number 6. If you feel a breath on the back of your neck, do not react. Hold your breath and remain completely still. It will lose interest. I clenched my teeth, every muscle rigid with fear. My lungs screamed for air, but I didn't move. I couldn't. Another inhale. Closer this time. I squeezed my eyes shut, my hands curled into fists so tightly that my nails bit into my palms. My pulse hammered, my entire body screaming at me to run. To do something. But I didn't. I couldn't. Seconds crawled by. Then minutes. Each one stretching into eternity. Then, just as suddenly as it had come, the presence was gone. I sucked in a ragged breath, my chest heaving. My hands were trembling so hard I could barely keep them in my lap. Slowly, cautiously, I turned my head. Just a little. Just enough to see. Nothing. There was nothing there. But deep in my gut, I knew the truth. I wasn't alone on this train. And whatever was here with me wasn't human. I didn't sleep after that. I couldn't. The train rumbled on, cutting through the darkness outside. I kept my eyes forward, staring at nothing, forcing myself to breathe evenly. Then, the train slowed down. A sharp hiss filled the cabin as the brakes engaged. I hadn't expected a stop, and that alone made my stomach twist. I turned my head slowly, cautiously peering out the window. There it was. A station. But not one that should have been there. Something was wrong. The platform outside was ancient. Rotting would be the better word. The concrete was cracked, vines twisting through every crevice like they had been growing there for decades. Rust coated what remained of a single metal bench, its edges curling inward like something had taken bites out of it. No signs. No lights. No people. Just an empty, abandoned station in the middle of nowhere. A deep, metallic clank echoed through the train as the doors slid open. Rule number 3. If the train stops at a station that is not listed on your itinerary, remain in your seat. Do not attempt to exit. The doors will open, and they will try to convince you otherwise. Ignore them. I had no intention of leaving. But then, something moved. A shadow. A long, stretching shape that slid across the platform, like oil spreading over water. At first, I thought my tired mind was playing tricks on me. Maybe it was just the way the dim light hit the ruined platform. But then, the shadow rose. It was tall. Too tall. Its limbs were impossibly long. Too thin. Bending in ways that bones shouldn't bend. The way it moved was wrong. Not human. Not even close. Then it turned its head, Even though I was inside the train. Even though there was a wall and several feet between us. I swear it saw me. The thing took a slow step forward, its elongated fingers twitching. Another step. Then, another. I stopped breathing. My grip on the seat tightened so much my knuckles turned bone white. Every fiber of my being screamed, "Do not move. Do not react." The train shuddered beneath me. Then, a lurch. The engine roared to life, and the doors slid shut just as the thing reached the edge of the platform. As the train pulled away, I didn't blink. I couldn't. I watched as the figure remained still. Its hollow eyes locked onto mine. Even when the station disappeared into the distance, I knew I wasn't leaving it behind. It would remember me. I stayed frozen in my seat for what felt like hours, my mind reeling. I had thought things couldn't get worse. A low, gentle voice came through. Right outside my door. "You don't have to be alone." My breath caught in my throat. It sounded close. Too close. Like whoever, or whatever it was, had pressed their mouth right against the door. A long silence stretched between us. The weight of the words sinking into my bones. Then, softer this time, it said, "I can sit with you." Ice filled my veins. How? How was that possible? I hadn't heard footsteps. I hadn't seen anyone pass by. My section of the train was empty, but now, someone was outside my door. No. Not someone. Something. I squeezed my eyes shut, swallowing down the fear rising in my throat. But, before I could process anything, the lights flickered. A cold dread settled deep in my stomach. Rule number 4. If the lights flicker, close your eyes immediately. Do not open them, no matter what you hear or feel. They can only see you if you see them. I shut my eyes tight. The flickering wasn't normal. It wasn't the occasional dull blink of old bulbs struggling to stay lit. It was rapid. Frantic. The kind of erratic, stuttering light that made the shadows stretch and jump in unnatural ways. And with each flash, I heard movement. A wet, slithering sound. Not footsteps. Not breathing. Something else. Then, I heard whispers. Not one voice. Dozens. Murmuring all at once, overlapping. Tangled together in a chorus of something I couldn't understand. Too fast to process. Too jumbled to make sense. The flickering lasted forever. Too long. My hands curled into fists, nails biting into my palms. I bit the inside of my cheeks so hard I tasted blood. Then, silence. The lights stopped flickering. The whispers were gone. The wet slithering sound had faded. I stayed completely still. My breathing shallow. My entire body trembling. I didn't dare open my eyes. Not yet. Not until I was sure. Minutes passed. Then more. Finally. Slowly. I opened my eyes. Everything looked normal. Except for one thing. A reflection moved in the window beside me. At first, it was subtle. Just a flicker of motion in my peripheral vision. A trick of the dim lighting. Maybe. But something about it felt wrong. My breath caught in my throat as I turned my head slowly. Every nerve in my body on high alert. My reflection was smiling at me. Not a normal smile. A slow, unnatural stretch of lips. Too wide, too perfect. My teeth gleamed in the glass. Even though my actual mouth remained still, I wasn't smiling. Rule number 7. If someone in the reflection smiles at you, even though you did not smile, look away immediately. Do not let them see you blink. A cold sweat broke out across my skin. I forced my gaze downward, fixing my eyes on my shaking hands. Do not blink. Do not move. In the window, the reflection didn't stop smiling. It lifted a hand. But I hadn't moved. The fingers curled into a slow, deliberate gesture. A single finger pressed against its lips. A silent warning. A demand to shut up. Panic blurred my vision. My body locking up. My pulse pounded in my ears, drowning out the low hum of the train. I don't remember falling asleep. But I must have. Because when I opened my eyes again, not just my compartment, the entire train was empty. No conductor. No passengers. Just me. The air felt heavier now, suffocating in its stillness. I sat up with a start, my heart slamming against my ribs. My gaze darted around the car. The seats, once filled with stiff, silent passengers, were now completely abandoned. A suffocating panic surged through me as I scrambled to my feet. The train wasn't moving anymore. I turned to the window, expecting to see the blur of trees or distant city lights. But there was nothing. No tracks. No landscape. Just darkness. An endless, sprawling void, stretching in all directions. My stomach churned violently. This isn't real. This can't be real. I fumbled in my pocket, my fingers brushing against the crumpled paper. I yanked it out, my eyes frantically scanning the words. Rule number 5. If you wake up and find yourself alone on the train, remain seated. Do not explore. The conductor will find you. I dropped back into my seat immediately, my whole body trembling. What is happening to me? Minutes passed. Maybe hours. Time had lost all meaning. The only thing I could hear was my own breathing, uneven and shallow. Then, I heard footsteps. Slow and deliberate. Coming from the front of the train. Each step sent a fresh wave of terror through me. I didn't move. I didn't breathe. Then, the conductor appeared. He stepped into my section, his posture as rigid as before. But something was wrong. His uniform, once crisp and neat, was torn, frayed at the edges, like it had been left in the elements for years. His skin was paler now, almost gray, stretched too tightly over his gaunt face. And his eyes, black. Completely black. Empty voids where human eyes should have been. He stared at me for a long time. I couldn't move. I couldn't even breathe. Then, in a voice that was too deep, too distorted, too wrong, he spoke. You followed the rules. The words slithered into the space between us. Thick and heavy. I swallowed hard, my throat dry as sandpaper. My mind screamed at me to run, to do something, but my body was frozen in place. The conductor's mouth twitched, stretching into something that might have been a smile, if human mouths were meant to move that way. Then, he said, "Good." Then, without another word, he turned and walked away. I sat there, shaking, trying to piece together what the hell had just happened. Was I even real? Had I been real when I got on this train? Or had I always been here? The train shuddered. A static-filled crackle erupted from the speaker system overhead. Then, a voice. Smooth. Calm. Deceptively normal. "We will be arriving in Ohio shortly." I gasped, whipping my head up. The train was full again. 1 second. I had been alone in that suffocating silence. The next, passengers. Everywhere. People filled the seats. Their voices a low, steady hum of conversation. Some flipped through books, others stared at their phones, a few dozed against the windows. Like nothing had ever happened. Like they had been here the whole time. My breath came in short, uneven gasps. My hands gripped the seat so tightly that my nails dug into the fabric. This isn't right. I turned my head slowly, scanning the faces around me. No one looked at me. No one acknowledged the terror in my eyes or the way my chest rose and fell too quickly. Then, the conductor. He strolled down the aisle, the same crisp uniform. The same careful steps. But those black, hollow eyes I had seen before? Gone. He looked normal. As if none of it had ever happened. As he passed my seat, he tipped his hat toward me, a polite, almost knowing gesture. "Glad to see you made it," he murmured. His voice was the same as before. Calm, even. But now, it carried something else. Something almost amused. I didn't respond. I couldn't. The second the train came to a stop, I bolted. The doors slid open, and I stumbled onto the platform, my legs shaking beneath me. The cold night air hit my face like a slap. But I didn't care. I just needed to get away. I forced myself to take deep breaths, filling my lungs with fresh air. My hands were still trembling. My heart still raced. But I was here. I was in Ohio. I was off that train. I should have felt safe. But something inside me screamed that it wasn't over. As the train began to pull away, a horrible, gnawing feeling settled in my stomach. I didn't want to look. I shouldn't have looked. But I did. Just once. I turned back toward the train, my gaze locking onto the window I had been sitting beside. My reflection was still there. Not a normal reflection. It wasn't copying me. It was still seated in the train, still facing forward. Still smiling. My breath hitched. A cold, sick fear clawed up my throat. The train doors hissed shut. Then, it blinked. But I hadn't.